Okay, you know that moment, right? You're about to speak, maybe in a meeting, maybe on a date, doesn't matter, and bam, the spotlight hits you. And your brain just glitches, completely freezes up. You forget words you use every single day, your voice gets all weird and high. Inside your head, you're this brilliant, charismatic person, but what comes out is a total system crash. The author of the book we're diving into today calls this the glitch. And here's the key. It's not a flaw in your personality, it's an engineering problem. And yeah, the source for today's explainer is this book, Fuck the Spotlight by Malik Traw. And it just completely reframes what we think of as stage fright or social anxiety. The whole idea is that this isn't about a lack of courage. It's about a misallocation of your brain's resources. It's a bug in your mental operating system, and the good news is bugs can be fixed.
And this quote right here, this is the absolute core of the entire book. The reason for the glitch, the reason our systems crash, isn't fear itself. It's a problem of focus. See, when you get anxious, all of your attention, all that incredible processing power in your brain turns inward. It becomes all about you. And that one little mistake is what brings the whole house of cards down.
So, for this first section, let's play detective. Let's diagnose the problem. How exactly does our focus get hijacked like that? And what is the massive, massive cost to our ability to communicate? Well, the moment you step into that spotlight, your brain launches this thing the book calls the ego audit. Honestly, just think of it like a super heavy app running in the background of your computer, the kind that makes the fans start screaming. It's constantly scanning. How do I look? Am I talking weird? What are they thinking about me? Oh God, can they see that my hands are shaking? It's a full-time job, just monitoring yourself. Let's talk about your mental RAM for a sec. In a focused flow state, like 90% of your brain power is on the task, having the conversation, giving the talk. But when you're anxious, that ego audit hijacks 90% of your bandwidth. It leaves you with this tiny little sliver of brain power to actually, communicate. Is it any wonder the system crashes? You're trying to run a super complex program with basically no available power. Now, this is a pretty provocative idea, but stick with me. The book argues that narcissism isn't really about loving yourself, it's about thinking about yourself all the time. So whether the thought in your head is, I am a god, or I am a total piece of garbage, who's the main character? It's still I. The spotlight is pointed in the exact same place, and that self-obsession, that's the engine driving the whole anxiety machine. Okay, so if the problem is a misplaced spotlight, what's the fix? Well, this next section is all about the solution. It introduces a huge paradigm shift the book calls the messenger mindset, and it's all about completely changing your job description in literally any social interaction. So it really boils down to two roles you can play. First, you've got the performer. The performer's goal is to be impressive, to look good, to win approval. And so their focus is entirely on themselves. And what does that lead to? Fear, because every little mistake feels like a personal failure. But then you have the messenger. The messenger's goal isn't to be impressive, it's just to be clear. Their focus shifts from themselves to the message, to the topic. And that brings, it brings freedom. It's not about you anymore.
To really make this stick, the book uses the waiter analogy. Imagine this. A doctor shoves a vial into your hand and yells, "This is life-saving medicine. Get it to the patient across the room now." As you're running, are you worrying about whether your tie is straight or if you look cool? No, of course not, because the value is the medicine, not the waiter. You are just the delivery mechanism, the vessel.
And that right there is the entire game. Once you truly, deeply understand that you are not the point, the idea you're sharing is the point, the story you're telling is the point, all that pressure just evaporates. If you stumble over a word, who cares? The package still got delivered. The medicine arrived. But okay, I can hear you asking, this mindset shift is great, but what do I actually do with the feeling of fear? The racing heart, the sweaty palms, the whole deal. That's a great question. And this next section tackles exactly that. The thing is, we have this whole confidence thing completely backward. We wait around hoping to feel confident before we act, thinking confidence is the fuel for the car. The book says, nope, confidence is the exhaust. It's the byproduct that comes out the back of the car after you've already hit the gas and started driving. Courage is the fuel. Action comes first. The feeling of confidence, that comes way later, if at all. Here's another game-changing idea. The actual feeling of anxiety isn't what paralyzes us. The book calls that clean discomfort. It's just adrenaline, a physical sensation. The real problem starts when we flip the struggle switch. That's when we start fighting the feeling. We think, oh no, my heart is racing. This is terrible. I have to make it stop. That creates dirty discomfort. We get anxious about being anxious, and that's the vicious feedback loop that leads to a total system crash.
So how do you drive with that feeling? You use the passenger on the bus analogy. Picture it. You are the driver of the bus. Your hands are on the wheel. And in the back seat, there is a loud, terrifying monster screaming its head off. That's your anxiety. Now, the trick isn't to argue with the monster or try to kick it off the bus. The trick is to just acknowledge it. Turn back, say, "Hey, I hear you, you're allowed to be here," and then turn back around, put your hands on the wheel, and keep your eyes on the road.
And this is the ultimate takeaway here. Your internal state does not have to dictate your external competence. You can give a brilliant, funny, articulate presentation while on the inside your passenger is having an absolute meltdown. The two things are not connected, unless you decide to connect them by flipping that struggle switch.
So, let's wrap this all up. What does this new way of communicating actually create for you? It's about moving from being fragile to being anti-fragile. And what that means is that stress and pressure and chaos don't just fail to break you, they actually make you stronger.
Think about it. The fragile performer needs everything to go perfectly. If the slides don't work or someone asks a tough question, they just shatter. Their whole ego is on the line. But the anti-fragile messenger, they're not protecting their image, they're delivering a message. They can handle chaos because their self-worth isn't even part of the equation. For them, a mistake isn't a catastrophe, it's just a data point to learn from.
And this, really, is the incredible promise of the messenger mindset. When your primary goal is no longer protecting your own image, but simply delivering the message, you become incredibly powerful. You can walk into any room, under any pressure, and get the job done, because your ego is off the table. You, my friend, become unbreakable. So we'll leave you with this final, powerful question. The book argues that when we stay silent out of fear, it's not humility, it's a form of selfishness. You're hoarding your ideas, your questions, your value. So the real question to ask yourself is this: what life-saving medicine have you been refusing to deliver simply because you were too worried about the waiter?